This powwow dance, the grass dance, it's a way of life for me. It's created a lot of opportunity, a lot of lessons. You know, it's built a connection to my elders and the people who have come before me. You know, it's a connection that I'll strengthen to my kids and my grandkids someday. And I appreciate this because, you know, it's taught me a lot about where I come from, who I am, and it's taught me a lot about the struggles of humanity and how I can use it to continue this fight to be human. Many of you have heard about powwows, but few of you probably understand its significance or its meaning. You see, there was a time in U.S. history when it was illegal for me to stand up here and talk about this dance and give you a little insight about Native American culture and things like that. You know, it was against the law. Legislation was actually passed. You know, it was a time when Native American culture was considered a threat to society. Things were done to eliminate our way of life. Massive buffalo hunts were conducted to slaughter thousands and thousands of buffaloes, which were our primary food source. Land was diminished into small areas called reservations, areas that we were not allowed to leave. You know, my grandpa, I sit with him sometimes and he tells me about the old ways, and he showed me one time his passport book. He didn't call it a passport, he called it his pass. And he said every time I left the reservation, I needed to present this. And he opened it and it was all blank. And he said, as you can see, I used to always sneak around. And he, you know, we laugh about it, and there is nothing to do but laugh, because laughter's good medicine. And you know, nowadays, back then was a hard time though, especially for the old group that grew through that time, because boarding schools were developed, and children and families were torn apart. And these children, their names were changed, their hair was cut. It was they were punished for speaking their language or talking about their culture. And the motto of these schools in that time was, kill the Indian and save the man. Kill the Indian and save the man. You know, and these were hard times for our Native American people. And we still feel the ripple effects of this way of thinking in our world today. And in a lot of different ways, we're still battling, trying to prove our existence, that we are still here, that we still have our languages, we still have our culture, we still have our songs and our dances, and we still have our way of life. We'll never forget our ancestors and what they went through. And that's what this is. That's what this powwow is. A powwow is a celebration of life, and we celebrate life through song and dance. What I'm wearing today it means a lot to me. And as you can see, they tell you I'm a grass dancer. The yarn that hangs from my outfit is represents the grass and the way it blows in the wind. And the beadwork you'll see was made by my wife, my family, presented or given to me quite a few years ago. My grandpa that I talked about before, his Indian name was Hooves. His Indian name was passed down to me, and my name is Hooves. So you'll see these Hoove armbands on my on me, and representing when I got older, I brought them back. You know, the moccasins are made from moose hide, and that moose hide has beadwork on it. You'll see the white angora around my moccasins, which represents that sheepskin. And you look on the mountains and you'll see those bighorn sheep and whatever on the sides, and they're sure-footed. So we take the spirit of these animals. You see the eagle feathers up here. We use our feathers and eagles in our ceremonies, and we pray to them. They carry our thoughts and our prayers to the Creator. Some say that they fly closest to the Creator. And so we take these animals and the spirit of them, we take the spirit of the land, and we wear it when we dance and we live. So, you know, I stand up here today, you know, to tell you, even though I wear these things, these from the animals and the land, it doesn't make me an animal. And people look at you, and that yarn, that means nothing. Those feathers, that means nothing. You know, you can't buy them at Walmart. It's cheap. It's nothing. But, and when people look at you, that's what they look at you with, that you're using nothing. What you're doing means nothing. So it doesn't mean that I'm an animal. I'm not here to say I'm above or below anybody. You know, we're not defined, Native American people aren't defined into one class. We're not all one people. You know, and some of these things may sound redundant to a lot of people because these outcries are often, you know, heard in movies and social media and protests and things like that. You know, these are not gripes that I talk about. You know, trying to hold anybody accountable. It's more about growth, a continued growth of awareness of our existence, because, you know, so that we can grow together in a world of acceptance. So I stand up here today to show you an evolution that goes beyond what your mind, what your perception can probably hold, an evolution of teachings and customs and culture and identity and a struggle. You know, too complex to try to explain in 10 minutes, but simple enough to understand that I just want to be human. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rusty. You know, you explained a lot of this. Can you explain the headdress a little bit more?
The headdress, you know, at our powwows, there's a competition side to things, also a spiritual side. So everything you see here is colorful and made for movement because at our competitions, there's judges that judge each category. So the grass dance, which is the competition that I would dance in, it's made to create attention. So it's made by porcupine hair, the longest hair on the back. And a headdress like this costs about $3,000. So it doesn't look like much, but you know, the hair is hard to find. And luckily, you know, North Dakota has cold winters, so the hair grows longer. And the deer tail, the colored part of it is a dyed deer tail. So everything's colorful, made to try to create attention.
That is so good. And not to draw attention to something that's controversial, but I'm going to. Can you help us understand a little bit better from maybe a concrete level and a personal level, the mascot issue that's going on in our nation?
Well, you know, North Dakota's kind of become the center point for the mascot issue outside of, you know, probably Washington. You know, there's the concrete level, which you mentioned, the things that people see, the emblem on buildings and apparel. But my opposition to the logo comes from a humanity standpoint that I spoke about earlier. What people don't realize is that for us as Indian people, I talked about us trying to be human, not animals, because we're the only human race that has to prove their existence by degree of blood. Almost like dogs and animals have to prove their existence. And it was developed because there was no way that you could continue to keep your Indian blood up because of integration and things like that. So we have to, I'm considered 3/8 or a half Indian. And, my kids have their degree of blood. And, for some reason we're treated as animals. When the government developed the Bureau of Indian Affairs, they, which is our branch of government that oversees tribal issues, where did they put them? They put them under the Department of Interior, where the land and the animals are. And there's things like that where animals almost have more rights than us, because our sacred sites where we pray, where our people are buried, there's nothing protecting them. So if they wanted to build a road, that they would have no problem digging up bones or demolishing structures or anything where we pray. But yet, if there was an endangered species who had a nest in that area, they would reroute that around. So we're still trying to fight for our existence. And the mascot issue, some people will say, we're honoring you. It's not hurting you. It's just a cartoon character. But there's an underlying factor that we're trying to prove that we are not lions and tigers and bears, that we exist.
Thank you so much. Let's give it up for Rusty, everyone.